I just realized that I am the only non-Spanish speaker tonight, and I'm the only person keeping all of you from having a cocktail. So I'll do my best to make this entertaining, but also very quick. And when we were on the break, a couple of people came up to me and said, Sheldon, is Google really one of the most innovative companies on the planet? And I had to agree. I said, yes, but it's not because of the company. It's because of the people. The people, the structures, the teams are what make that company and others like it fantastic. We heard a lot of examples this evening about what goes into innovation. We heard about empowering employees, empowering customers. We heard about the future of payments and the magical things that will be happening very soon. We just heard about ways to make disruptive actions part of our lives. And hopefully my time with you in the next few minutes is to take all of that and give you a framework to take it all and make it active in your organizations tomorrow. That's the goal. So I ask you all to come along with me as we do that. Because innovation is a buzzword, and there's lots that go around that. Some people aren't even really clear what innovation really is. We can think of it this way. Innovation is really your ability to see change as the opportunity that it is and not a threat. The reality for all of us, for organizations around the world, is that we can be innovative because we wish to create something. We can be innovative because we have to keep up with the competition, or we can be innovative because if we don't, our businesses will become obsolete. Whatever your motivation, we're going to talk today about how you can make those changes happen. And there's been lots of research from lots of companies, big and small, about what goes into innovation. And so what I thought I would do was walk through some examples of how I've used innovation, how innovation has been used with me within my teams to make things happen. So if we truly wish to innovate, what are some of the components that we need? Well, first, I think we all have this because you're here today, is you aspire, you wish to innovate. And that's great. But that desire by itself is not enough. How do you communicate this to your teams? How do you make sure everybody has that same vision? There's the key. And so many years ago, the president of my division had an aspiration. She wanted the bold mission of helping customers grow. Now, how? Right? That's a big statement. We all had to take that back within our teams and choose, of all of the things that we can do, which of these would allow that mission to occur. We had to decide, to prioritize. Should this project come first? Should this project come second? Should we close this project altogether? Rarely does this happen in a vacuum. What I mean by that is, this decision should not be just yours. Surround yourself with the right people. Get the answers that might make you uncomfortable, but also get the data. Have your teams do the research. Make the right decision. Choose the path you wish to take. And once you've done that, think about how your teams will begin to move forward. Do they have to create something new? An example from my experience is we were very interested in helping customers grow. And you heard Monica mention I worked in the channel division of Google for a while. Great team, lots of fun, let me tell you. Another story later at the cocktail session. But we had to work through a third party, partners of Google. So how could we do that? Well, one of the ways that we decided to do that was to create a platform that would assess what is the skill level of these partners so that we know how best to deploy our resources, so that we could get into that market first, identify those partners with the most opportunity, and then get there first. Because I think a lot of you use Google, yes, but there were other options at that time. There was Yahoo, there was Bing, there were others. And we all were trying to work with these partners. So we had to get there first. So we hit the gas and got there. Something that is very important in big tech in general, but also at Google, is fine, you have a great idea. You're getting there first. You have the right insights. But how can you make it bigger, better, stronger, and faster? In other words, can it scale? And some of the examples you heard earlier, I mean, let's be honest. I think the Caja Feliz scaled pretty well around the world, didn't it? And I had no idea that originated here. Thankfully, my wonderful wife, who es Guatemalteca, is with us today. She did let me know that. That was part of my education to being welcomed into Guatemala. But once you have that scale in mind, and we had that scale in terms of all of these partners, the question is, how can you leverage different networks? How can you leverage and extend beyond where you are today? And that comes through very strategic relationships. A big part of business is not just what your business does, but who you do business through, for, and with. So think about those relationships you've had in the past. Think about those you can have in the future. And if your team is big enough, you might dedicate people just for that. If it's smaller, they can take on additional responsibility. But it really is your team that makes this all possible. Otherwise, innovation is just a dream. Your organization is only as good as the people that you have within it. Hopefully, in the aspirational phase, you've done a great job of inspiring them to do more. Once they do more, reward them for it handsomely and make that part of the culture. Because all of this together, this is what made, in my experience, Google a phenomenal company to be involved in. The people all pushing and rowing in the same direction. And this is possible in a company of 2 or 200,000. The responsibility of us as leaders is to make that happen. So I've talked about the essentials. Let's break this into an example. Because a lot of us here are thinking, how do I actually innovate going forward? Quick, just raise of hands. Who here has actually really heard of the metaverse? Show of hands. Nobody? Oh, a lot of you have. Okay, fantastic. Keep your hand up if the metaverse is part of your plan going forward for innovation. I see only a couple. Let's talk about that. Let's use this framework we just discussed to think about the metaverse for your business going forward. So we heard and saw some data that shows metaverse growth over the next couple of years. Staggering. It's almost going to double. That's fantastic. But if we think back to my example, when you have to choose priorities, is an opportunity that will come about for you in 2 to 3 to 4 years your primary project for innovation? Maybe, maybe not. When you think of the opportunity within the metaverse for your business, which I'm a believer in the metaverse, how will you capitalize on that? How does your team feel about it? These are the things that we need to think about. So if your time horizon for this innovative phase has the room to accommodate the time for the metaverse to become mainstream, as was just mentioned, then it could very well be there. But what if you want to innovate tomorrow? Next week? What are some things that you can do? Innovation itself doesn't have to be the invention of something new altogether, right? Disruption is fantastic, but you can also disrupt within your own organization by taking what you've done and doing it in a whole different way. One of the most powerful ways that you can do this today is through automation. When you think of your business and all the activities you take, that's a powerful way to move forward. And many of you have been making decisions about what to do. And it's interesting, if we did this survey in this room, it might very well look like what we see here. Roughly 60% of you may feel that the metaverse may help you optimize a process. Maybe it's gathering information about customers. The other half may be thinking that this is just a radical change of business to create a whole new profit center. I'm not going to mention names, but there's a couple of banks down south that have just bought a bunch of digital real estate in the metaverse. Mind-blowing. But that might not fit for what you're looking to do or your profit model for your business. But as I mentioned, automation is something that each and every single one of you can take advantage of through almost your entire business structure. Anybody here currently automate any tasks in their business? Does anybody use any automation? I see a couple of nods, yes, yes. Let's talk about this, because again, I want you to be able to take action tomorrow, next week. There are lots of automations that can do a lot for your business right now today. Marketing being one of the biggest examples. Marketing is a laborious, long, hard, hours-driven exercise if you do it right. There are now platforms upon platforms upon platforms. One built right here in Guatemala that can automate marketing for you. So if you're able to take that workload from somebody, imagine what you could have them do. They could uplift their skills and become more strategic versus typing away on a computer. I think a lot of us manage our finances. We can pay people to do that. That's fantastic. But finance itself, because of the way it's structured, zeros and ones, quetzales and dólares, it's all structured. There are many platforms that can do this work for you as well. And especially when you think of e-commerce, a lot of that is already in a digital format. Take advantage of that and use it to become more efficient. If we're in business, we're probably selling or delivering to the public some type of a product or service. And the job of somebody who's in charge of generating revenue, a salesperson, they typically have one thing in mind. How can I get more and more and more? One of the biggest reasons that a salesperson is not more successful is because they don't follow up. They say, hello, Mr. Customer, and then that's the end of the conversation. Leverage different types of systems. For example, a CRM, maybe Salesforce, to help automate, or HubSpot, to automate those processes. Help those salespeople do more of what they're supposed to do, which is get business in your proverbial door. Many of us have inventory to worry about. Shipping, receiving, transmitting. A lot of this can be automated. There are refrigerators that will tell you your milk is running low and order it for you. Check it out. If you can automate that process, it becomes very much more fluid. And customer service, we can't forget about that. Because if you want a customer to come back, you have to treat them right and get them the answers they need. Almost all of this nowadays can be front-loaded into a system. Just take a pick. It's there, it's available. The more time that you automate processes for your team, the more time that they can spend helping you innovate. If someone's typing away on a computer all day long, they're not helping you create the culture, create the environment to help you make the decisions on when and how to innovate. So if you're able to leverage some of those automations, you'll be able to solve almost 3/4 of all headwinds to growth, according to CMOs worldwide. Talent and labor challenges are one of the biggest challenges that are seen going forward. And that brings a quick topic about what makes good talent. Because here's an area where you can change things dramatically. You want to be disruptive? Don't hire somebody because they're good at doing that job. That's my challenge to you. Skills can and should be taught. Look for people with a lot of general cognitive ability, meaning they understand, can grasp concepts. These are the people that will help you innovate. These are the people that will challenge you to do more, to do better, and teach them the skill you need. Now, I get it. That doesn't apply in every single circumstance. If you need someone to program a specific piece of code and that's it, no problem. But in general, disrupt, innovate in your own hiring process, and look for people with a very high general cognitive ability. It will change your organization for the better. Sheldon, sounds great. Now what? I got 5 things for you to do, okay? First of all, think big, but don't think big alone. Inspire and aspire to innovate, but talk to your team. Here's a question I challenge all of you to ask your closest team members tomorrow. What would it take for us to 10x our revenue in the next quarter? Every idea is welcome. There are no resource constraints. You can hire as many people as you want. You can spend as much money if you want. Give me 3 good reasons, 3 good ideas, and see what happens. Give them the freedom to do that. When they do, make sure it's specific, though. Okay? A goal or an idea is worth nothing if it isn't bound in time. That's why I just said next quarter, in the next 3 quarters. Otherwise, you will not go anywhere. Make it very specific. Make sure you can measure it, track it, and make sure it's bound in time. Then you have something for them to really go for. And once you've done that, just get up off the ground and act, because your action changes things. When your team moves and begins to push towards that goal, that creates momentum. And one of the biggest jobs we have as a manager, as a leader, as a boss, whatever your terminology is, create the momentum and pull people along with you. But be honest with yourself. Do a check-in. See how you're progressing. If you're balancing 2 or 3 initiatives and one begins to lag, make a decision. Always be honest with yourself and your teams. Radical candor is very important. But most importantly, of all, is if you get to this point, take time to celebrate with yourself, with your loved ones, with your team, because you are now in the top 13% of all organizations that actually fulfill on a strategic plan. In other words, 87% don't get there. Why not? Because a lot of people are afraid to fail. Well, Sheldon, I can do this, but if I fail, I won't look right in front of my friends or family. It doesn't matter. But Sheldon, if I do this, if I take this leap, my business could collapse. Possibly. But if you're assessing along the way, please understand, above everything else, it is okay to fail, ladies and gentlemen, but please fail fast and learn from the experience. And my biggest takeaway from over 7 years at Google, over 15 years in the space, is this right here. Fail fast and learn from the experience. Thank you for your time.